Street addresses are a standardised system now used in many parts of the world, which was introduced to more clearly identify locations so that people can find them more easily. So surely this is just an innocuous and uncontroversial numbering system, right? Well, this may be the case in most instances, but in some places people can care a lot, and this can lead to some pretty interesting situations. For instance, there are some street names, property numbers, or suburbs that are considered by some people to be more or less desirable than others. Collins Street in Melbourne is a good example where a street name carries a lot of weight. Westpac, for one, were prepared to part with a reportedly very large sum of money to secure an address on Collins Street for their new headquarters. While it's actually located on Russell Street, the bank negotiated a 99-year lease on a small laneway from the nearby Scots Church. This laneway fronts Collins Street in between the church's main building and the imposing Assembly Hall. What this lease means is that Westpac's new office building on Russell Street actually has the address of 150 Collins Street, instead of the presumably less prestigious sounding Russell Street. And large banks are not the only ones to do this. In the 1970s, the imposing hexagonal Nauru House on the corner of Little Collins Street and Exhibition Street was constructed. In the process of doing so, one of the heritage Victorian terrace buildings at 84 Collins Street was purchased and demolished, purely so that the new building could adopt the address of 80 Collins rather than Exhibition Street. This gap in the buildings still exists today, but most of the original space is now occupied by another new tower, which also has the address of 80 Collins. This sort of messing around with names isn't just limited to streets either. Some suburb boundaries have gone through long and complex processes to change or not change in particular areas, mainly based on lobbying from locals. One example is the tiny suburb of Deepdeen in Melbourne's eastern suburbs near Balwyn and Canterbury. While the name Deepdeen was used to refer to an area around the intersection of Burke and Whitehorse Roads for well over 100 years, it was never officially gazetted as a suburb. But this changed in 2010 when the Office of Geographic Place Names formally approved Deepdeen as a state suburb. This followed years of campaigning from local residents and Boroondara Council. What's particularly interesting for our purposes is that this caused an apparent increase in the prices of properties within the new suburb. This was because this was an already expensive pocket of suburbia, and median house prices are calculated as the middle price of a property in a list of sales where they are arranged from lowest to highest. In small areas with low turnover, like Deepdeen, median house prices tend to show up higher than in similar but larger areas where there are more properties being bought and sold. I've put a link in the description with more information on this if you're interested. But basically, this apparent increase in property prices resulted in some people in neighbouring areas wanting to become part of Deepdeen. I actually remember quite well a campaign in 2014 to have the boundaries extended even further into Balwyn, up to Balwyn and Belmore Roads, while I was a councillor at Boroondara, something which thankfully received little support. But even something as innocuous as a number can make a big difference. In some cultures, for example, the number 8 is considered very lucky. This means that properties with an 8 in their address, or better still, multiple 8s, can command higher prices than properties that don't. Conversely, in some cultures, the number 13 is considered unlucky, and some people will avoid purchasing a property associated with this number. This leads to some pretty strange addresses. For example, the Greenland Centre building at 115 Bathurst Street in Sydney was constructed recently without any levels with the number 4 in them. So levels 14, 24, 34 and so on are just skipped and named for the next number instead. I can imagine that the buttons in the lift would be very confusing. There are heaps of other ways where addresses have affected the broader world. As we've seen, to many people they can have a lot of meaning. And to everyone, an address can be part of our memory attached to a particular place, like our childhood home or a popular shop we used to visit. I think it's interesting to think about these and how they have become much more than just a simple name and number. Thank you for watching this video about street addresses. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to click the like button and subscribe to this channel for future videos. Also, please get in touch in the comments or via my website at philipmallis.com. Thanks and see you next time.